Do these stats matter? Let's find out right now on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Adam and Dave here on a Sunday night. You should always watch these on YouTube. Dave is quite the character. Do these stats matter? If they do, they could be really impactful for fantasy. If they don't, well, I guess they could also have an impact for fantasy because it's just going to determine how you draft. But anyway, I'm going to give you some stats on some players. You tell me what you think of it. All right. Damian Harris versus Ramondre Stevenson. They were splitting pretty evenly late in the year. Who's better? Who's the better running back? Well, both averaged 4.6 yards per carry. Love the explosive plays, though, from Damian Harris. Damian Harris had 8 carries of 20-plus yards. Ramondre Stevenson had 1. I believe his longest run of the year was 21 yards. Yes, Harris did have more carries, but that doesn't explain 8-1 in that category. However, Dave, we use a site called True Media, great source of stats. They define explosive runs as carries of 12 or more yards. Ramondre Stevenson actually had a higher percentage of those types of runs than Damian Harris. So he was in that 12 to 20 range a lot. He did not break any big runs. What does it all mean? Does it matter as we look at this Patriots backfield?
Unfortunately, I don't think this one matters that much. I think that you can look at Damian Harris's stats and Ramondre Stevenson's stats and say the Patriots have a good problem. They've got 2 really good running backs, and that's bad for fantasy. But I've got a stat to put on top of that that'll separate these two quite a bit when it comes to how you view Patriots running backs on draft day. Last year, downs of 3 yards or closer, so like 3rd and 2, 1st and goal from the 1. Plays like that where the running back only needs to get just a few yards to convert for a first down or a touchdown. Harris had 60 such snaps. He converted on 79% of them for either a first down or a touchdown, and that includes 73% on goal-to-go carries. The Patriots have waited forever to have somebody like that. Remember 2 years ago when it was Cam Newton? They loved Cam Newton in that spot because nobody else could do it. Now Damian Harris has gotten into the swing of things. He's great at it. Stevenson, still good, 60% conversion rate on goal-to-go carries, 68.4% conversion rate overall, but only 32 snaps, about half as many as Damian Harris. So I think for now, the Patriots coaching staff, they will trust Damian Harris in those high-value opportunities. That gives him an obvious edge in fantasy, and I think people knew that all along. But we tend to drag Damian Harris down because he doesn't get a lot of catches. I think that might be a little bit of a mistake. I think he's still worth taking as a quality number 2 fantasy running back, especially on a Patriots team that's got a good offensive line, and they will be balanced offensively when it's expected that they are. Obviously when they're down 2 scores or whatever, they'll be throwing. But in neutral situations, you'll see them run quite a bit. That's good for Harris.
Okay, we got to go a little quicker on these next 2. Joe Burrow scored more than 21 fantasy points in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues, or 22 if you want to use decimal scoring. More than 22 points in only 4 of his last 11 games, including 4 postseason games. In 2 of those games, he did score 46 and 43 points. Had those huge performances, Dave, but more than 22 decimal scoring, 6-point per passing touchdown leagues, only 4 times in his last 11 games, Joe Burrow.
He had that 2-game stretch late in the year where he totaled 88 fantasy points. And the games, it was week 16 and week 17. He and Jamar Chase literally helped people win their fantasy leagues. It was outstanding. But if you take him away, he averaged right around, like you said, 20 fantasy points. I have a hard time believing 2 things. One, that the Bengals are going to try and remain as balanced as they were last year and take the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands after what he and this entire passing game did in the previous season. I also have a hard time believing that the offensive line wasn't improved for Burrow's benefit and that he'll have more time to throw. He was actually better last year when he was under pressure, but he's going to be amazing if he's got time to throw because he's an accurate quarterback. So Heath talks about all the time where he's just going to regress back down. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case. I think he can average around 22 or 23 fantasy points per game.
Last one is Mike Williams. Mike Williams had 12 targets inside the 10-yard line. That's a ton. He had 3 catches for 12 yards and 2 touchdowns. His teammate Keenan Allen also had 12 targets inside the 10-yard line. He had 8 catches, 44 yards, and 6 touchdowns. There are a lot more numbers I can give here, but I'll just sum it up. Mike Williams was the most inefficient player inside the 10-yard line. All the players that had 12 or more targets, nobody was as bad as Mike Williams. If he can prove that, he could be a real steal on draft day, but does he keep getting those targets? That's the question, I guess. What do you make of it, Dave? Real quick.
I don't like it. I think that last year he blew those opportunities. We know that Eckler's great down there. Keenan Allen's great down there. And they brought in Gerald Everett. Not that Gerald Everett was amazing inside the 5 last year with Seattle, but he can give that offense a little bit of a different dimension in the red zone. The thing that stands out to me about Mike Williams, first 5 games of 2021, 23 PPR points per game. After that, 12.4 PPR points per game. And you look at his numbers for all of 2020, all of 2019, all of 2018, he was below 11 PPR points per game. So I feel like we kind of know who the real Mike Williams is. And as much as I love this offense, Adam, I'm not sure he can average close to 15 PPR points per game.
All right, that's it for Fantasy Football Today in 5. Looking forward to breaking down some more stats on the full-length version of Fantasy Football Today. Thanks for being here, everybody. Enjoy your Sunday night if you're watching. Enjoy your Monday if you're listening. And we will talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football.